operations in M&E, and I think this is the crux of any organization. If you talk about a non-profit, yes, fundraising is important, yes, marketing is important, but without operations, I think you can't run the organization. So I think our panelists are already having a discussion in that corner about this subject matter, very, very agitated and very excited to be on stage. So just to start this panel, I would like to invite, he doesn't need an introduction, to be honest. One of the most innovative organizations in this sector, GOONJ, I think everybody knows about them. And I would like to invite Anshu Gupta on stage to actually moderate the panel. And then obviously all our panelists who he will be inviting. So Anshu did tell us he's not, a tech guy, and, GOONJ doesn't necessarily use that much of technology. But to be honest, I have not seen as much innovation as we've seen in GOONJ. So it's a different way to look at innovation when we're talking about social innovation. And so we thought, why not bring Anshu on stage to push everyone and ask the right questions to say, do we really need all this technology? Do we really need data? How is it really helpful to this sector? So let me invite our panel too and Anshu to lead us in this conversation, and hope this wakes you all up after this nice heavy lunch you've had.
Thank you. And I think it's an interesting thing that after the lunch we are talking about operations and M&E and all. And that makes it really more complicated for us. So, for an organization which think that it does not use tech, and Wendy was right. When they asked me to moderate these panels, I actually wrote back. I said, why are you asking a non-tech person to moderate a panel where we are talking about technology? But it's not just about technology. It's about M&E. It's about operation. It's about a lot of innovations. It's also about a lot of questions. I think so. My role today is to make sure with all of you to provoke as much as possible what is happening, because I am coming from a place. If I talk about GOONJ in a minute, we are about 1,000 people as an organization now. 20 years of this work, and larger world still think that we are in the business of collecting and distributing clothes. Because that's the easiest touch point with GOONJ, but I think that's very small part of the work which is happening. Otherwise, the whole idea is to use this second-hand goods as a new currency for development. So we are hardcore rural development, water, infrastructure organization, and then people are paid or rewarded in this kind which we collect from people. I'll not get into details of GOONJ today, but it's a hardcore logistics operation. It's about almost 5.5 million to 6 million kgs of material, cloth, utensil, footwear, to old carpets, wash basin, doors, windows, from the richest possible cities to the remotest possible villages. And it has data, it has people, it has policies, it has processes. That is what has happened in the last 2 decades of this work. But why I thought it's a good chance, to be with all the people and moderate this panel, because personally, after 2 decades of this work, like many of us, are actually going through a tough phase in understanding what impact have we been able to make. Because the easiest thing for people is to say 100,000 lives changed. I always joke that in a world where you spend your entire life in changing your own life, how do you really claim 100,000 lives changed? Easiest thing in terms of tech to think about an app and saying that a new app will solve the problem. Easiest thing is to use our own lenses and not getting into the lenses of other people with whom we are working. So I think I'm privileged. I'll speak more in the panel, but I'm privileged that I'm actually with the people who are not just creating data, but working and then making data, who are innovating in different places. And the most important part about this panel is that largely all of us work in different areas. different areas of impacting life and different approaches of impacting life. I will not get into detailed introduction because I think work is the introduction and everyone will get 5-7 minutes. We are just trying our best, and that's why we were sitting here to make sure that all of us shut up in 5 to 7 minutes when we speak, so that we get lot of time of the interaction. Not like detailed observations and all, but one-on-one questions, which we will do later on. So just to give a very small introduction, if I start with the person sitting at the end, Mr. Daniel Lobo, who is based otherwise in San Francisco, but keep coming here, a hardcore tech guy, you can say, worked with Silicon Valley startups, and now here. Next person is Mr. Ashok Chadha, part of Central Square Foundation since it was set up. It's about 7 years, almost there, and hardcore operations guy, as he calls himself. Then we have Anupama. Anupama is into data science, and she says that it is all about life. I mean, if she talks about her life, it is 19 years of analyzing data. So I'm just giving a tagline to each one of us sitting here. Then we have Anuj, and Anuj and me just met, in one of the water forum just last week or 10 days back in this place, and I think from this stage and outside the stage, and the debate still needs to happen. It was all about how do we charge people when we provide water to the people. Jinka wo pani hai, that water belongs to them, so how do we really charge? So I will talk about those issues also. Today it's not just about tech and M&E, because that's a part of operations. So it is 10 years of Sarvajal, and before that Pratham. And his tagline is that he's a hardcore social development person. Then we have Jayant from Magic Bus, again a hardcore corporate guy, CEOs in institutions. Motorola was one of the main part of his life, moved on, and then for the last many years he's a part of Magic Bus. So over to all of you.